welcome back to the Constitutionals Podcast. I'm your host, Chad White. If you didn't know, this is the premier podcast for the website, cpluscomedy.com. Like I just said, it's a website. Go there. Welcome back in. Here we are once more time doing an interview. Sitting down with a comedian and trying to find a conversation while they're also promoting a project. Excuse me. Why am I whispering? I'm trying out my new RFK voice. Welcome back in. This is episode 378.5, I believe. When we look at the numbers, that is correct. And we are talking to the funny and the lovely Katie Compa. Katie Compa is, don't know why I'm saying the whole name again. She is a comedian that is based out of New York City, from the Maryland area. We didn't talk much about where she came from, but we did. She was in the Bay Area. That's where she started everything, and well, you hear about it in the conversation. I'm trying not to recap what happens in the conversation, but I think it's nice to have context. She has a new project out, a new record, and I believe there's a special. Yes, because that's what I watched. There's a new special and there's a new album. They're called Incurable Optimist. Now, this is her second project, I believe, and this is the one we're talking about. You can see her other ones on their website. And in this, she talks about the current presidential administration and the right to free speech, talking about choosing not to have children, tons of other stuff. Don't know why I went into that accent. This is her the first record she's done and special she's done since 2019. When that was pre-pandemic, there was a shift in her, and she talks about this, her want to do comedy, and it happened in the pandemic. She didn't want to do comedy for a little bit, so it took some time off, and then she came back, ready to go, blazing, ready to take on the scene of comedy again. It's really interesting. She did an outside show, and again, we talk about this. I'm so sorry for recapping, but she did an outside show in the pandemic, in the height of the pandemic, when vaccines were happening, and she decided, like, all right, we're gonna do this. I'm gonna do this outside show. She was convinced to do this by somebody who threw a show, and then she did it, and she continued on, which is great. There's times when I don't want to do this. It's been 13 years. Right around, I don't know, year 10, I was like, all right, this might be enough. And here we are 3 years later. Incurable Optimist is out on April 30th. Today's the 29th. You do the math. I believe it'll be on YouTube, and also where you, if you want to listen to it, then you can get it where you stream your albums. Be that Apple Music, Spotify, Amazon, YouTube Music. It's my personal one. Is it worth the money? YouTube Music? It is, only if you watch YouTube videos. She also has a show with Mindy Raff. It's called Golden Spiral Comedy. And you can see that live if you're in New York. That's great. And I'm trying to find, I think I lost the website. There we go. I found her website again. Okay. I have too many tabs open. You can go to her website, katiecompa.com, to check out her live shows. I believe she has, a now defunct podcast, but you can check out that stuff. And then some other shows that she has going on the calendar. Check out her previous special, record, Hard Pass, and check out this new current special that is, again, out tomorrow, out April 30th. Trying to make this evergreen. out April 30th. Follow her on Instagram and Twitter and Blue Sky, whichever socials you like, at Katie Compa. If you want to see a video version of this interview, go to youtube.com/C plus comedy, where you can see video versions of pretty much all of the interview, most of the interviews. I will not say all of them. I think there's about 70 or so that are just written on the website. Go to the website, cpluscomedy.com, where you can see the other interviews. If you want to see the video version of the interviews, go to youtube.com. You want to see a video version of the podcast, youtube.com/C+comedy. That includes Late Night Lately, the Late Night Show, LinkedIn Logs, the Jobs and Business News Show, and the Constitutional Entertainment Business News Podcast. If you want to follow us on social media, do that at C Plus Comedy on Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, and YouTube. Me on those platforms at Chad Black White. And now, get ready for the Bay Area's own Katie Compa. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry.
Oh, no worries.
Being
5 minutes. This is early. Do not worry.
I'm still working. I'm working from home, as the cool kids say it. And
Uh-huh.
and my manager was like, "Hey, let's have a meeting at 1:30," and that went until just now.
Yeah, absolutely no problem. I
Oh God.
absolutely know how that goes. So,
Well, I want to say thank you for sitting down with me
yeah,
and
thank
thank you for
you.
waiting. Also, congratulations on Incurable Optimist. And on
Thank
top
you.
of being hard to say, it's I saw a couple of minutes. It's a very funny piece of business.
Thanks so much. Yeah, Incurable Optimist is about something specific because definitely the rest of it is very misanthropic. Like Incurable Misanthrope might have been better, but yeah, I have hope, I guess, is
Yeah.
the upshot.
And you know what? We appreciate that. I love a hopeful comedian. I like how, initially you came out in this special with just like gratitude and then immediately went into a joke. And which is
Yeah.
like you announced the humility and then just immediately went to debase yourself.
Yes, thank you for seeing me.
What was it like recording this? I know it's your second piece of work, so I'm curious as to what was the decision to go into getting this set of jokes ready to put out there for everybody else to enjoy.
Well, I had, my first album, I didn't do video for one thing. So that was a piece. It was a lot more work than I anticipated. I thought it would kind of be the same as doing an album and just like with an extra piece, but no, it took a lot more watching myself, which I hated doing. Um, Never want to repeat that experience, but if I do another one, I probably will. Um, uh okay, so, sorry, can you repeat the question? I have ADHD and I am
Yeah, no worries. No, it's just
struggling.
like how did you come about deciding on like this was you're ready for the next special and the next record, and then that you were going to go with the stuff that you wrote down for this.
Yeah.
Like
Okay.
what was your process? How'd you cut things? What
Yep.
what was that like for you?
I went through some things in the pandemic, as we all did. And I kind of quit. Like I quit stand up early. I was working more than full time, like 50, 60 hours a week.
Wow.
And so there were Zoom shows happening, but the last thing I wanted to do after being on the computer all day and with many Zoom meetings as part of that was another Zoom meeting, which, a Zoom show is a Zoom meeting. So I really had to, like, coming back to stand up was um maybe more surprising to me than it should have been, because once I started doing it again, I was like, oh yeah, right. I can't live without this. Like I have so much to say, and I don't care if two people hear it or 20,000 people hear it. I'm going to say it. So, and I am very lucky to work with an independent record label, Little M Recordings, and they did my first album, and they were kind of on hiatus too around the pandemic. And then I guess early 2025, they asked if I would be interested in doing another album. And I immediately was like, yes, yes.
Wow.
Like I couldn't believe they were asking me. I felt like so honored to be, just be asked to do it again. So this was, in terms of the material, like I really, for my first album, I kind of tried to put everything on it that in case I didn't get another shot, I wanted to like touch on all these different um, areas and topics. And I kind of did the same this time, but I was a little bit more laid back, and I'm just not going after stand up the way that I was when I did the first album. You know, it was like 4 or 5 nights a week, and now it's kind of like 2, 3 nights a week.
Okay.
Um, so it was definitely a different approach. And the expectation around it, I'm kind of like the first album came out in September 2019, and then there was, as you may recall, a deadly global pandemic. So there was like
Right.
really nothing I could do to support it once it came out. And this one, I think my expectations and my hopes are just different for it. Like I would love to hear people all around the world hear it, but does it need to make me famous? No. It's really like more communicating these ideas to people and having them get in and be just considered, if not accepted.
Wow. I love that take. I think, and especially your approach to building this special and the record around it. It's fascinating because you hear that comedians should go out, as you said, 5 or 6 times a week, but to find that you like to understand that you have solace around 2 or 3 nights a week is great. It kind of feels like you understand where you want to be in your career, and you have goals, and you're going to achieve them in your own terms without having to basically fall into the trappings that are the old ways of doing comedy, because there's so
Mm-hmm.
many different ways to get your voice out there and to work. And I think you'd rather, and I'm probably imprinting my thoughts onto how you feel about doing comedy, but I would rather have 2 or 3 like good and great nights as opposed to 5 or 6 okay nights, because quality is better than the quantity of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's, when you're like forcing yourself to like, if you don't have the steam, if you don't have the energy to do that, like you're not going to be able to fake it. And that's one thing I love about live performance is like crowds know when you're faking it. And even if they don't know that they know, you're not going to get out of it what you could put into it if you had a little more energy, if you'd taken that rest on Wednesday instead of going out 3 nights in a row.
Yeah.
Um, so I mean, yeah, I also have been like very much through a metamorphosis of my own goals in comedy and just what success means to me. Um and like one of the reasons I came back was it was like if I left stand up, I would leave a whole community, like a pretty significant community that means a lot to me. And so doing stand up is really more about staying in community with the people whose ideas I love and respect
Yeah.
um and bringing new people into the fold when possible.
When you left and then you came back and you got that first laugh, did you feel that same kind of adrenaline, that energy that you felt the first time you were on stage, or was it newfound? Was it completely different? How did that feel when you finally, maybe even outside of the Zoom shows, maybe even doing it in person again? How did that feel for you at that moment in time when you saw somebody laugh at a joke?
I think it was maybe better than the first time because I realized that I hadn't like lost all the skills that I'd spent so much time building up because I really didn't do anything for over a year. And then my friend Calvin Cato, there's a venue in Queens that I can walk to called QED, and they were having backyard shows at the time. And he texted me once and was like, they were doing a backyard show, and he's like, "Hey, the trains are all messed up. A bunch of the comics can't make it. Can you get up here and do a set?" And
Whoa.
that was the first time that it was like 2 weeks after the vaccines came out. I was still like considering whether I was going to even go to the store, And
Yeah.
then I was like, well, I can come up there and I can promise to have pants on. Can I do a set? We will find out together. And then I got there and I was supposed to do like 12 minutes. And I was like, you want me to do 12 minutes? I'm not ready for that. So, but it went well. I managed to do it. And that was really it. Like, as soon as I did that, I was like, I guess I'm back now. And
Yeah.
I have been back ever since.
Did you slip into, like, obviously I assume you went up there with old material, with the stuff that you did
Yes.
previously.
Mm-hmm.
Now, was it like slipping on like a good old sweater that it fit everything,
No.
or oh
It
no, it
was like
wasn't.
I forgot how to do this. Like I completely for where is the armhole, Like um yeah, I would not compare it to riding a bike. It definitely took a little time to get back into the, just knowing what's coming next, where you can
Right.
like think one thing while your mouth is saying another thing. Like that is you do need to do it a certain amount of time to be able to do that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I did stand up. I don't know, maybe like I did it for a total of like 4 or 5 times,
Hmm.
and that was maybe 10 years ago. I just realized I'm much better at talking to funny people than trying to make other people laugh intentionally like that. But you're right. It's not like riding a bike. And I just think back to those times I did stand up when it was just open mics or I was booked for an amateur night or whatever. It was they were so far spread far apart.
Hmm.
And everything and nothing was the same. I thought it would be so funny if every single set was different and nothing was planned or anything, and it wasn't obviously.
Yeah.
I like comedians do something that I don't think that I have the call for. But man, if I knew how to play an instrument, oh baby, I'd be up there playing a guitar immediately.
Yeah, that makes sense. I don't know. I listened to a couple of your other episodes, and one thing I think the thing that from the pandemic that really drove me to try to do it again, after I got this like one opportunity that was just kind of a fluke, is like the realization that nothing matters. Like I just it was such a dark time in the pandemic, and it wasn't because of like staying home and not seeing people. That was actually great. It was like watching people just not care about the consequences of their actions. So at the end of the day, I came out with, I was like, well, I guess nothing matters. And you can take that one of two ways. You can do like nothing matters. I'm just going to be in despair for the rest of my life, or nothing matters. I have complete freedom to do whatever I want because nothing matters. So I have tried to adopt the second approach more than the first, although it does creep in from time to time.
I like that. That's a form of freedom that not a lot of people can admit that they want or chase it, nor can do they want to chase after it. When you're writing your jokes, how are you finding? Trying to mine something out of not wanting to have children or anything else that you talk about because writing a joke is very difficult and then like trying to make that funny and I know a lot of comedians who don't want to have children or like get married or anything.
Mhm.
So how's your writing process for your jokes?
For that kind of topic, it's really about defending my own life and my choices. And I actually had a podcast called Kid Life Crisis about deciding whether or not to have kids that I
I
did with
saw
another
that.
comic who does have kids. So, we tried to get people on. We had both sides of the coin where when we started the podcast, I was basically like, I don't think I'm going to do this. And then, you know, 2016 happened and I was like, I'm definitely not doing this. So, um, so yeah, and it depends on the topic, but that one in particular is like I'll hear something just it doesn't even have to be directed at me, but I'll hear one of my friends tell a story about how, a conversation that they had where they felt really judged for not wanting kids, or I'll see something online and I'll just kind of come up with defenses for that I think I can make funny.
I like that. The way I always keep I have a note section in my phone that is
Mhm.
just SNL sketches in case they want to hire me,
Yeah, of
if
course.
Lauren's ever watching this.
Honestly, they should be recruiting, I think. So,
Hey, I look, that's what I've
yeah.
been saying that for about 4 or 5 years now. But it's I think it's always great just to like write down something funny, even if I'm
Oh,
the only
yeah.
person that thinks is funny,
Hmm.
because if I wake up in the middle of the night or it's I get my best ideas in the morning. So
Hmm.
if I'm sitting here enjoying breakfast and I go, oh shit, that's hilarious. Let me just work on that. I think it's so great because that moment of inspiration, even if it lasts for a minute,
Hmm.
is so
I
gratifying.
sometimes
And
don't even have time to get my pencil before it's gone, So
really,
yeah, it's a real scramble because I get a lot of mine when I'm like in that like liminal space between being asleep and being awake. So I have a
Mhm.
notebook by the bed, but it's like in a drawer. So sometimes if I like come completely out of my, if I'm like fully awake, I'm like,
Yeah.
what was I just thinking about? I have no idea. Like, but it's like that at all times of day. Honestly, I really have to be quick on the draw to get the idea down.
Is your mind that always moving that quickly? Is that something that you have to worry about? You mentioned
Oh
your
yeah.
ADHD.
Yes, I tune out of, many like I've tuned out mid sentence already while we've been talking. Like, and it was my own sentence, So yeah, it's a struggle. I yeah, I don't have a defense for I tried to go on medication and it gave me seizures, so I cannot
Mhm.
be I have unmedicated ADHD and that is just who I am, But I don't know, I think there was a documentary maybe 10 years ago about how rampant ADHD is in comedy and stand up in particular. because you have to be so observant and notice things that other people don't notice. And usually that's because you're distracted from the topic at hand. So
Do you want me mid sentence from now on? I'm just going to interrupt myself and go, hey, hey, hey.
I'll probably ask you to repeat the question like at least two more times while we talk.
No, I appreciate it. I
Yeah.
always ramble, so it doesn't matter if you ask me to repeat. That gives me a chance to rewrite history. And the only people that pay attention are the people that listen to this.
Okay. All right. I feel better.
So tell me about this, what you do with Mindy. I saw that you guys do a golden comedy hour. Is that something that
Golden
is a
Spiral. Yeah.
golden
So
spiral?
I don't know. You might not be old enough for Square One TV. Um, it was a show within a show. Or Square One was the show, and then they had a Math Net, which was like a fake detective show where they used math to solve crimes.
Okay.
Um, I know this sounds like where is she going with this? But so it's called Golden Spiral, which is based on the mathematical Fibonacci sequence, which is like 1 + 1 is 2, 1 + 2 is 3, 2 + 3 is 5. So it goes 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay.
Um, so our show is called Golden Spiral Comedy, and the sets get longer according to the Fibonacci sequence. So we start off with like a 5-ish, 5 minutes, 8 minutes, 13 minutes, 21. And that's it for the math. And there is no quiz, but it's a fun way to do the show because it's like you kind of start off like chop, 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 and then you end up with like a longer set at the end.
So
And
is
we
it just the two of you, or are you bringing up other
Oh yeah, no,
comics?
we book usually 4 or 5 comics every month.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Okay.
we do one of us hosts and one of us will do like an 8-minute set, and then we'll have the other. We'll just kind of like fill in the lineup from there.
Whoa, so the both of you are like hands-on with this. This is
Uh-huh.
your show.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that
So we
difficult
have a
to find new
producer.
people?
No,
Okay.
people want to do the show.
Okay.
Um, I run a weekly too, and that is a little challenging, but I have two co-producers. I will not do a show by myself. I have to have co-producers. So people hit us up, or when we do shows, we'll see somebody and be like, hey, you should do my show. And yeah, but Golden Spiral is actually we brought it back because we were doing it before the pandemic. And then it took Mindy a very long time to feel comfortable going out in public with the
Hmm.
germs.
Hmm.
So once she did, we moved venues and we relaunched it in January of 25. So it's been back on a monthly basis since then, although we usually take August off. So
Oh, really? Okay. Well, so a monthly show, you're
mhm.
finding new voices, or at least trying to,
Mhm.
the willing voices all the time, and people are well ready to jump in.
Yeah.
That's really cool. I like the idea of comics booking their show and knowing other comics, because that's where the funniest people are. It's much better than, a venue person trying to see like, hey, maybe person X is good, maybe
Yeah.
person Y is good.
And it's like, I mean, I think there's a good and bad side to this, but it's like I try to have, I have shoot for us to have lineups that aren't based on like who has the most followers or who's gone viral recently. It's like more of a who vibes with, I like to like envision the whole show and put together lineups that balance each other out and make sense versus like trying to just, cram whoever we think will get publicity. Like, what is that? Who
Yeah.
even cares? Um, I do an open mic on Tuesdays that I've been doing pretty much since I moved to New York. That's like, it's like 20 comics usually and maybe 4 or 5 audience members.
Wow.
So, and people are kind of like, why do you do that? Like, there's not even any audience there. And I'm like, it's like a salon during the Enlightenment. Like, it's just people getting up and telling each other their ideas. And then we like talk about them after, it's like really one of the most fulfilling things that I do my whole week, I think.
I love that. And because you're talking shop after the fact,
Mm-hmm.
and somebody could give you that golden ticket
I've
to help
gotten
you
so
build your
many,
joke.
yes, I've gotten so many tags, so many like improvements on jokes just from like doing them in front of that group of people. I would say where it is, but you'll have to hit me up and ask. It's a secret.
It's a secret.
Yeah.
Now you're based in New York,
Yes.
and did you started comedy in Minnesota, right?
In San Francisco.
San Francisco. It
Yeah.
was they both have names.
Yeah, totally. No, and they're like I think they have kind of comparable scenes. I haven't actually been to Minneapolis, but it's like kind of the similar size cities with like a lot of people who move there to get good. So
Mhm.
and they do. So it's like good scenes in both places.
What was comedy like in the Bay Area for you?
Well, I started in 2007, and at the time there was a comedy college, the San Francisco Comedy College. I just did air quotes for the listeners. And it was I had several people ask me, they're like, "Oh, you go to the comedy college? Is that like what is your degree in? And I was like, it's not a college.
Doesn't even
It's
sound
the
real.
place that you go to take comedy classes. Like, come on, man. But I did that for over a year. It was like class, which really you were just paying a fee to have a writing group, and then you would do material, you would work the material together, and they had open mics that you could do anytime during the weekend. It was like 5 or 6 open mics. You could get a lot of stage time.
Okay.
And then eventually, far later than I should have, I like kind of left that and went into like the real world of open mics.
Mhm.
And I have you probably didn't get to this part of the special, but I have a whole, like, I had a journey with being like, yeah, I remember saying to another comic when I started, I was like, yeah, I'll probably, if I don't get famous in 3 years, I'll probably quit. It's like, why do it? If you're like, if you don't get famous in 3 years, you're just not talented. And then I learned, getting into it, man, did I have so many assumptions corrected, and if I could go back and talk to myself, I don't even know if I would believe me, but
Were audiences receptive to what you were saying on stage back then?
um in San Francisco.
Yes.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay.
It was like I think I didn't really have a bad set until I was at you're from Atlanta, right? It was actually in
Yes.
Atlanta. I did a club in Atlanta and I had like a true bomb where it was like just no, you could hear a pin drop, and I did not get them back before the end of the show. So
Wow.
it was rough. I thankfully was doing 2 sets and the second one went better, but I yeah, it was humbling for sure. But yeah, no, in San Francisco, it's so just like everybody would be like, "Oh my gosh, you're an artist, you're a comedian. That's so great. When can I come and see you?" And then they would never come and see you, but
Yeah.
but yeah, I think it was a really good place to start for sure.
That's fascinating to me. I don't think I've spoken to anybody who started in the Bay Area or Minnesota, as I call it. But it's comedy's different. I think all over the United States, and in terms of what we know to be comedy, or I guess the populace at large, it's Los Angeles or New York.
Hmm.
But then there's Chicago, and then people are doing stuff with improv and all
Hmm.
over the place, and even the Midwest has great comedy clubs. I wonder if for a comedian who is touring or who does different shows in different cities all over the states, do you find that you have to bend your jokes for other people for different areas, or are you able to? Is it translative to everything?
I have to say, I don't travel that much. Like, I'm not, because this isn't my money making career, I kind of
Mhm.
do it. It's so fun and I love to do it, but it's the executive function it takes to plan a trip and dates. It's like way above my pay grade. So
Yeah.
I would say, the opening track, spoiler alert, on the special is a joke about Trump dying. So I
Mhm.
do have to think about whether I'm going to open with that in some places. Because they will be mad, but I memean, more and more as this presidency progresses, I am less and less shy about doing it. So um yeah, and other than that, it's really like I know that I have an urban focus. I try not to go to like rural places and do jokes about the subway. I don't even
Yeah.
really have jokes about the subway, but I try to make. I've always tried to do this because I do more. I actually probably do more international performance than I do around the states, and so I try to write material and rewrite material to make it accessible to whoever is listening to me. So and that is a challenge that I enjoy. I always have liked messing around with words and seeing what works the best. So, anybody who can get past my talking speed, I'm going to try and make sure that you can understand what I'm saying.
Wow. Comedy college, and you're able to rewrite your own jokes. What did you go to college? Did you go do some after high school learning?
I did. I went to Georgetown and I did not do comedy at all. And I was there at the same time as Mike Birbiglia. And I think John Mulaney was a freshman when I was a senior, but we didn't know each other. Nick Kroll was in my class. So all these luminaries and then me. So, yeah, at the time I was really like, I had my plate full trying to make it and graduate, like I
Yeah.
was definitely not, it was a rude awakening to get to college and find out how much, like, I just really had not been in charge of my own time for a long time because my parents were so focused on me getting into a good college that I really didn't know what to do when I got there. Um,
Wow.
but I made it. I graduated. I'm not any kind of cum laude or anything like that. but
Neither
but
am
I
I.
yeah. I mean, I'm happy to have the degree. That was good. But yeah, like Mike Birbiglia was doing comedy stuff on campus, and I think
Mhm.
there were like comedy things to do, but I was kind of like, no, I have to just like get my office job the way my parents want. That's what we're doing here. That's what
When
life
did you
is.
break out of that? When did you feel like okay, I can do my own thing, and then maybe that's like when the seed was planted. I'm gonna
Yeah.
start making jokes.
It took a long time because I wanted to do stand up since I was like 9 and we got cable and I started seeing stand up, but I never considered it like a viable career path for myself. But once I went into the world of having office jobs, I was doing like it's healthcare PR, which I still do kind of, freelance. But I could see that the career path that led to the promotions and the more money was a path to misery for me.
Right.
I was just going to be more and more miserable, and God knows how I would take that, how I would sublimate that feeling. Um, and I went to Colorado with my mom, and we got tickets to a comedy festival. And I'd always been a nightmare to go see stand up with because once we leave, I'd be like, I'm funny, I could do that, right? And then whoever
Ah,
was with me had to like talk me down and like validate me. So I did that with my mom, and she was like, yeah, I think you could, maybe you should take a class. So I was like in the Denver airport Googling comedy classes, and that's how I found the comedy college. And
wow.
yeah, and I was kind of like, oh, maybe I'll do it once and then not do it. And then no, that was, in 2007. So
Yeah. My first year, like seeing comedy at a young age, like a stand up at a young age, is just so fascinating because there's no way you saw somebody who was age appropriate for you. Like it's
right.
like
I mean, I don't know. It was all on TV. So I think at least standards and practices were pretty strict. Like
right.
and and my early influences were like Gallagher. Like I loved
Oh,
Gallagher. And it wasn't not the watermelon. I actually thought that was cheesy,
oh,
but
okay,
he had
okay.
like he had jokes about spelling, and like I don't know, it was honestly like the material was like very accessible to a 10-year-old for some reason.
Oh yeah, it's Gallagher, but I can't believe
Yeah.
you said not the watermelon. That's the
I
first
really
and
did not
only
enjoy it. It was
thing.
like, yeah, I know. Well, that's what everybody thinks of. And it was like clearly people had prepared, like they were all wearing ponchos in the front row, but
Yeah.
after I saw him do it once, I was like, wait, he does it every time? I don't know. This is kind of
He does
a
every
little
time.
hack, maybe. I didn't know the word hack, but
The first one special I saw was Ellen DeGeneres. We had a free HBO
okay. Yep.
weekend,
Mhm.
and I saw Ellen DeGeneres, and it got to the part where she, talked about coming out, and I did not understand what that meant. And I
Yeah.
was just
Yeah.
like, this woman is blossoming into a flower because I remember she like squatted down and she like blossomed out, and that was the joke, and everybody laughed, and I was just like, I guess this is funny.
Yeah. That's wild. Cause I mean, I remember when she was a straight comic, and her
Yeah.
and Rosie O'Donnell both, like they could not talk about themselves because it just wasn't, the world wasn't ready. And then Elaine Boozler was my other big one when I was a kid. There probably are more, but I definitely remember watching Elaine Boozler specials like repeatedly.
I don't think I've ever seen her do stand up.
I don't think she does it anymore. She's like rich. She's like super rich now, so she does it occasionally for like, she'll do like animal benefits. Um, but it's like maybe a few times a year, not
that's the
like on the
success
road.
that you've been searching for. Well, the early version of you was searching
Yeah,
for.
yeah.
That's the like I'm
It
gonna
was
do
that or
comedy in
nothing,
3 years.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's really like as I kept doing it and kept like making friends and building community, I was like, this is pretty rewarding on its own. And actually, the success that I thought I wanted could kind of ruin it because it's like, I don't know, I'm not going to name any names, but there are people who are successful who I'm like, I don't want to be in a room with like the vibes are off. I can't do it. And it's like a fair number of people who I've known who've achieved that kind of success
Mhm.
kind of like, oh, that's what you need to have. Well, I don't have that. So I will just stay down here, I guess, on the lower levels, enjoying my life.
Yeah,
Um, and
you
it's not
named them
everybody. Okay.
already.
No, I'm not going to name them. And there are people that I'm happy for, but I'm not going to name them either because you'll notice who I don't say. So
Mike Birbiglia, Nick
yeah,
Kroll, John
yeah. Hey,
Mulaney.
I didn't say anything. I just said we went to college together.
Well, Katie, I think you're very successful, and you had a successful time during this interview. I had a wonderful time. You're a very funny comedian, and I want to see this special and this record do well for you.
Thank you so much. I hope it does. I hope it just, I'll leave you with this. I guess the best compliment I ever had was a girl came up to me after a show and was like, because she knew that I knew the host, and she was like, "Did Carrie tell you to do those jokes about me and my life?" And I was like, "Girl, no, those jokes are about me and my life. But she found them so relatable that she thought I had written them for her. So
Wow.
I hope that if somebody feels like I'm talking about their life, that's like such a huge compliment to me.
That is beautiful. I love that. Katie, you've been wonderful. This has been fantastic. Thank you so
Thank you
much for
so
sitting
much,
down
Chad.
with
Yeah,
me.
thank you for chatting with me. I really appreciate it. And yeah, have a great rest of the day.
Yeah, you as well. And good luck
Thanks.
on the release.
Thank you.
All right. Bye.